Hello everybody, this is James DaSilva, and today we are going to talk about closed voice triads and the diatonic cadence. Okay, I think this is a really important thing to talk about because it's something that really I don't think most guitar players, when they're first starting out learning how to play, really address this issue. And I feel that the fretboard does not intuitively lay out the diatonic cadence in the way that a keyboard would. Especially when you're playing, a keyboard in the key of C. You're playing all the white keys and going from C major to D minor to E minor. It's very intuitive, it's very simple. On the guitar, not so much. So I wanted to talk about that today. Before we get into it, I'm going to give you a really quick primer on the theory behind triads. Okay? So the important thing to know is that we have 4 different qualities of triads. Okay, we have major, we have minor, we have diminished, and then we have augmented. Okay, now I'll explain how each of those triads relate to each other in a sequence later on when we talk about the diatonic cadence. But right now, all you need to know is that there are 4 different kinds of triad qualities. The other thing you have to know is there are 3 inversions for each triad, because since a triad is basically built from 3 notes, that gives us 3 different inversions. Okay, so we have root inversion, which is where the bass note is the root. So a C major triad root inversion, the lowest note would be C. A first inversion is where the 3rd is the bass. And then second inversion is where the 5th is the bass. Okay? So root inversion, first inversion, second inversion. Okay? And also all a triad is just the root, 3rd, and 5th of whatever scale it is that you're working with, or whatever system of harmony that you're dealing with. It's just the root, 3rd, and 5th. Okay? The other thing, for this specific video, the way that I'm going to divide up the voicings into 4 different sets of 3 strings. So we're going to talk about the top set of strings, which is G, B, and E. We're going to talk about the upper middle, which is D, G, and B. We're going to talk about the lower middle, which is A, D, and G. And then we're going to talk about the bottom set of strings, which is E, A, and D. Okay? So let's get right into it. So let's talk about first major triads. Okay? So we're going to start with a C major triad, and here is just the notes C, E, and G. Alright? So that's our root inversion C major triad. Now we're going to go up to our first inversion C major triad, which is E, G, and C. And now we're going to go up to our second inversion C major triad, which is G, C, and E. Alright, so here we have, okay, so what would be a great exercise if you're not familiar with these shapes is to just practice going up and down and just really getting that under your fingers. Alright, so very good. So those are C major triads. Now we're doing the top set of strings, so now let's go to the upper middle set of strings. To stay consistent with the root, first, and second inversion in terms of where it lays out on the fretboard, I'm going to go to the key of G major. Okay, so now instead of C major, we're going to be in G major. Alright, so here's my shape, G major. So this is a root inversion G major triad. Root, 3rd, 5th. Now I'm going to go to first inversion G major, which is B, D, G. Now I'm going to do my second inversion G major triad, which is D, G, B. And there you have it. Those are my triads on that set of strings. Alright, so that's the upper middle. Now let's go to the lower middle, which in this particular case, kind of starting off in that pattern, we're going to be in the key of D major. Okay? So this is a root inversion D major triad. Now we're going to go to the first inversion. I'm I'm sorry, let me go back. So root inversion, that's D, F sharp, and A. Root inversion, D major triad. First inversion, D major triad, is F sharp, A, and D. Alright? Now I'm going to go to the second inversion, D major triad, which is the fifth is on the bass, which is A, D, and F sharp. Okay? Very good. Now we're going to go to the bottom set of strings. And this time we're going to be in the key of A. So that's a root inversion A triad, A, C sharp, E. Okay? Now we're going to go to a first inversion A major triad, C sharp, E, A. Now we're going to go to a second inversion A major triad, which is E, A, C sharp. Alright? And there you have it. So if we just kind of play those, it's a really good exercise, just kind of getting your fingers used to those shapes. Okay, so that was A, D, G, and C. Very good. Okay, so those are major triads, alright? And those are basically all over the fretboard. We talked about basically every different shape we can play in a major triad all over the neck. We might have some alternate fingerings here and there, but generally I think, actually no, I don't think you can do alternate fingerings for most of those. But in any case, so now let's go real briefly to the minor triads, okay? So now a minor triad is root minor third fifth. So before we were playing root major third perfect fifth, now we're going to do root minor third perfect fifth. Okay? So we're going to have C minor root inversion, first inversion C minor, so E flat G C. Then we're going to have second inversion C minor, which is G C E flat. Okay? And then just go back and forth and play those. Alright, very good. Now, let's go to the upper middle set of strings. So in this case, again, we're going to be in G, but this time we're doing G minor, right? Because we're doing G minor triads. So here's a root inversion G minor triad shape. Okay, so root inversion G minor, G, B flat, D. First inversion G minor, B flat, D, G. Third is on the bass, right? And then we have second inversion G minor with the fifth on the bass. So D, G, B flat. Good. Now let's go to D minor. Okay, so root minor third fifth, D minor, D, F, A, root inversion. Let's go to first inversion. So now we have F, A, D. Okay. And now let's go to a second inversion where the fifth is on the bass. So now we have A, D, and F. A, D, and F. Very good. Okay, now let's go to A minor. So this is the bottom set of strings. So now we have A, C, and E. First inversion A minor. C, E, and A. Then we have second inversion A minor. So now we have E, fifth on the bass, A, and then C. So that's a second inversion A minor. Alright, very good. So we've covered major and minor triad. Now let's do diminished. Alright? So again, we're going to start with the top set and go all the way down. We're going to start with C diminished. Okay? Now C diminished triads are the root minor third in diminished fifth. So as opposed to a major triad, root major third perfect fifth, now you have root minor third diminished fifth. Okay? So, and that's a very important thing to know is the intervals that make up each of these triad shapes. Another important thing to mention with diminished shapes is that there's a difference between a diminished triad and a diminished seventh chord. Okay? And I think that can kind of get overlooked if you're not careful. So a diminished triad doesn't include the diminished seventh. Okay? So for example, a diminished seventh chord is this sound. You know, just kind of, you hear that in classical music a lot, but it has the root, minor third, diminished fifth, diminished seventh, a double flatted seventh. And so a diminished triad does not have those shapes. Okay? So in other words, this is not a diminished triad. That's a diminished seventh chord. Okay? So anyway, just think about that while we're doing this. Now, so C diminished triad, this is root inversion. Okay? Now let's go to our first, C, E flat, G flat, root inversion, C diminished triad. Let's go to first inversion. So this is E flat, G flat, C. First inversion, C diminished. Now we have second inversion, C diminished, which is G flat, C, E flat. Okay? So altogether, okay, C diminished. Now let's go to G. Okay? So we have a root inversion G diminished triad. So we have root, minor third, diminished fifth. Now let's go to our first inversion. Okay, so the first inversion we have minor third on the bass, or third on the bass, first inversion, diminished fifth, and then root. Okay, and then we go up to second inversion, which is the fifth is on the bass here, which is our D flat, our diminished fifth. So D flat, G, B flat. Okay? So those are our diminished triads. Alright? So let's keep going. So now we've got to D diminished. Now this is a little bit of a stretch. This is a root inversion D diminished triad. So this is D, F, A flat. Root, minor third, perfect fifth. Diminished fifth, excuse me, sorry. Diminished fifth. Now we go to first inversion D diminished, which is F, A flat, D. Okay, and then we go to second inversion D diminished, which is A flat, D, F. That fifth is on the bass, that diminished fifth. Okay, so altogether, it's a big stretch, so be careful, don't hurt your hands. And when you do that, the work up to that stretch, because it is a big stretch. Now let's go to A diminished, okay? So here we have A diminished root inversion, which is A, C, E flat. Okay? So that's our root inversion A diminished chord. Now we go to first inversion A diminished, which is C, E flat, A, first inversion A diminished chord. Okay? And then we go to our second inversion A diminished chord, which is E flat, A, C. Alright? And then those are all of the triads we have. Diminished triads. Okay? So, again, C diminished, G diminished, D diminished, A diminished. Okay? And spend time on each of those and just getting them really under your fingers. Okay? Now the last one we have is augmented. Okay? Now augmented is a little more straightforward because the augmented chord is a symmetrical one because they're all built off of the interval of a major third. Right? It's just major thirds stacked on top of each other. And the shape repeats itself. Okay? So, for example, C augmented, it's root inversion. First inversion, E is the third. E, G sharp, C. And then second inversion, G sharp, C, E. Okay? So those are C augmented triads. Then we have G augmented, root inversion. First inversion G augmented, and then G augmented second inversion. It's kind of hard to say when you're doing on the fly. But then we have de-augmented root inversion, de-augmented first inversion, and then lastly de-augmented second inversion, fifth on the bass. A-augmented root inversion, A, C sharp, E sharp. And it's E sharp because the fifth is raised. It's an augmented fifth. So you wouldn't call it A, C sharp, F, because F implies a minor 6, not an augmented fifth. It's a very important thing if you're writing music to know which interval, know which inharmonic note to write. Anyway, totally unrelated. But A, C sharp, E sharp, C sharp, E sharp, A, and then E sharp, A, C sharp. Okay, and those are all of the augmented triads. Okay, so that's very useful, very important to know. Now, this is something that you can spend a lot of time on, and I think will really help improve your guitar playing. Now, let's take all of these things into context, because we just talked about a lot of voicings, and we talked about a lot of different kinds of harmony, different inversions. So let's kind of put those together, okay? So you're talking about the diatonic cadence at the beginning of the video, and what the diatonic cadence is essentially a harmonized scale stacked in thirds. So if I took a C major scale and I stacked each one of those notes in thirds, I get the diatonic cadence, okay? If I put one more third, I would get seventh chords. But we're not talking about seventh chords, we're just talking about triads, so don't worry. But anyway, so in the context of C, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and then back to C. Let me go back down. Okay. Now let's apply those to the other keys that we were just doing, right? So say we're now in G, right? So G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished. Now let's say we're in the key of D. And by the way, the reason I'm picking these keys again is so that we're able to use all of the different fingerings, all of the different root inversion fingerings for each of these triads on each of the sets of strings, okay? So there's a reason I'm picking those keys. So D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, and then C sharp diminished, okay? Now to the key of A. So A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished. Okay, so those are, now that's the context of all of the triad qualities in the diatonic cadence. Now you might have noticed, however, that the augmented triad was not present in those. And that's because you're absolutely right. The augmented triad is not present in the diatonic cadence. The augmented triad is only present in the harmonic or melodic minor cadence. So, really briefly, the melodic minor cadence, if we are doing C melodic minor, that sound, so we would have C minor, D minor, E flat augmented, F major, G major, A diminished, B diminished, to C minor, okay? So that augmented triad is present as the third degree of the melodic minor scale, or harmonic minor scale. But anyway, just to kind of give you reference for that. So, we covered a lot of things. So here is kind of the challenge to you, is if you can practice these things and really get them in your fingers, your playing will be a lot better, I can assure you. And the other thing I would mention, not to do a plug here, But this book, if you've never practiced this book or checked out this book, the George Van Eps Harmonic Mechanisms. George Van Eps is one of the great guitar players in history, and he played a 7-string guitar, and his understanding of the fretboard was really profound, especially considering and he's a much older player. He's not with us anymore, but his legacy lives on. In his book, there's 3 volumes of it: Harmonic Mechanisms, volumes 1, 2, and 3. It's a lifetime of study, and talks, about what we talked about, but then to the nth degree. Very, very deep book. But if you can practice the things that we specifically talked about in this video, your playing will improve immensely. So here's some things to work on for the future. So we only did, when we talked about the diatonic cadence specifically, we only talked about root inversion triads. Now, what you should try to do is do the same thing, but do first inversion triads. So, for example, or second inversion triads. Okay? And do those on each of the sets of strings, and do those in all different keys. Do them in all 12 keys. The other thing I would challenge you to do is to practice playing in one triad quality up and down the neck as much as you can. So if you were, for example, if you were playing just C triads, if you were doing, let's say you were doing the diatonic cadence, and going up and down, combining vertical and horizontal motion on the guitar, so that you can move any direction that you want to. And we just did root inversion. Try that with first inversion chords. So on and so forth, and then do it in second inversion chords. And going all the way up. And I guarantee you, it's a real challenge. And then you can practice doing that in the melodic minor or harmonic minor cadence. And it's a huge kind of feat, but I guarantee you it'll really help your playing and broaden your understanding of harmony. So anyway, I think that's enough for one video. Thank you for staying with me in all of this. And again, if any of you guys are interested, if you like my videos, please subscribe, please comment, and if you have any suggestions for future videos, please message me. I'd love to talk about any topics that might interest you. And also, I always am available for Skype lessons or Zoom lessons. I have a pretty busy teaching studio out of my home in Nashville, Tennessee. I actually live in South, kind of Franklin. If you live in Nashville, I kind of live in the south part of town. It's not exactly Nashville, but it's part of Nashville. So anyway, I love teaching, and I love doing these kinds of things. So if you're interested in any of the things that I'm talking about, please message me. My email is in the description below. And also check out my website, www.dasilvaj.music.com, where I post all kinds of updates about what I'm doing, what kind of projects I'm doing. Currently orchestrating for an album project for a really great singer in Nashville, Josh Carswell, which I'll be posting more details about that soon. And I also have a tour scheduled with David Liebman in November and December. And the dates are still being codified, but I'll post this on my website soon. But anyway, just keep in touch, and please check out my website, and if you're interested in lessons, please just email me. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll be posting more soon. Keep on practicing, and I hope this helps. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.